The gleaming hull of the interstellar ship Odyssey sliced through the void, heading towards Nova Prime. Ambassador Ethan Reed stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the approaching planet. Humanity's first official diplomatic mission to an alien world rested on his shoulders. "Entering Nova Prime's orbit in 5 minutes, Ambassador," Captain Melissa Hart announced. Ethan nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. As one of Earth's top diplomats, he had handled countless delicate situations, but this mission was unlike any other. They knew little about the Novians, except that they were humanoid and technologically advanced. "Any advice, Ambassador?" asked Dr. Sofia Ramirez, the mission's xenobiologist. "Remember, we're here to build bridges. These Novians may look similar to us, but their culture could be entirely different. Stay alert, stay respectful," Ethan replied. As the ship began its descent, Ethan thought about the challenge ahead. Diplomacy with an alien race was a historic opportunity. He hoped the Novians were as eager to establish a relationship as humanity was. The docking procedure went smoothly, and soon Ethan and his team were walking through the airlock onto Nova Prime's orbital station. The architecture was sleek and organic, with surfaces that seemed to pulse with an inner light. A group of Novians awaited them, humanoid but with larger eyes and shimmering patterns on their skin. "Welcome to Nova Prime, Ambassador Reed," said Kalra, the Director of Interspecies Relations, in perfect English. "I am Kalra. We are honored by your presence." Ethan bowed slightly. "The honor is ours, Director Kalra. We come in peace, eager to learn about your people." Kalra's lips curved in what Ethan hoped was a smile. "Let us begin with a tour. There is much to discuss." Ethan noticed how the Novians maintained a careful distance from his team. They concluded the tour in a conference room where Ethan's team took their seats. A stern-faced Novian entered, flanked by security. "This is Consul Zara, who will oversee our negotiations," Kalra introduced. Zara fixed Ethan with an intense gaze. Her appearance was striking, almost human, save for the faint, shimmering patterns on her skin. "Consul," Ethan began, "it's an honor to—" "Before we proceed," Zara interrupted, "there are protocols you must follow. No physical contact between our species. Is that clear?" Ethan blinked at her bluntness. "Of course, Consul, but may I ask why?" "The reasons are not your concern," Zara replied sharply. "Just follow the protocol." A tense silence filled the room. Ethan glanced at his team, seeing his own confusion reflected in their eyes. "Perhaps we should begin with a cultural exchange to establish common ground," Kalra suggested. The meeting proceeded with a flurry of information exchange. Ethan found the Novian emphasis on collective consciousness and biotechnology fascinating. Despite Zara's cold demeanor, Ethan saw potential for cooperation. As the meeting concluded, Ethan stood to address the room. "Thank you for this discussion. I believe we've laid a strong foundation for future cooperation. Consul Zara, I hope we can move forward in a spirit of mutual respect." He extended his hand reflexively. Kalra shouted, "No!" But it was too late. Ethan's hand touched Zara's. A jolt of energy surged through him, and Zara collapsed to the floor. Chaos erupted. Novian security rushed to Zara's aid. Kalra's earlier friendliness vanished as she rounded on Ethan. "You were forbidden from physical contact! What have you done?" Ethan stammered. "It was an accident. I didn't mean any harm." Zara groaned, slowly regaining consciousness. Her eyes filled with venom as she looked at Ethan. "You fool," she hissed. "Do you know what you've done?" Before Ethan could answer, a Novian burst into the room and whispered to Kalra, who turned to Ethan, horrified. "Ambassador Reed, scans confirm that you have impregnated Consul Zara." Ethan's jaw dropped. "That's impossible. We only touched hands for a second." "That was enough for a transfer of nanites," Zara spat. "Your DNA has merged with mine. A new consciousness is forming." Ethan's mind reeled. There must be some mistake. "Let's discuss this." "There will be no discussion," Kalra interrupted. "You and your team are confined to your quarters until we decide how to proceed. Guards, escort them out." As Ethan was led away, he glimpsed Zara's face. Amidst the anger, he thought he saw a flicker of fear. Back in their quarters, Ethan's team bombarded him with questions. "How could you be so careless?" Dr. Ramirez demanded. "It was a reflex," Ethan protested. "How was I supposed to know a handshake could cause this?" Captain Hart stepped in, her tone calm. "Arguing won't help. We need to figure out our next move. This could become an interplanetary incident." Ethan nodded. You're right. Sophia, what do you think about the nanite transfer? Dr. Ramirez's curiosity overcame her frustration. Their biology must be radically different, but without more data, I can't say how it works. A chime sounded and a Novian guard entered. Ambassador Reed, you're needed in the medical bay. The rest of you will remain here. Ethan followed the guard, his mind racing. In the medical bay, Zara stood with a cold expression. Lie down, she ordered. Ethan complied. Consul, please, let's talk. This was an accident. We can work together to— Silence, Zara snapped. She turned to a Novian doctor. Begin the scan. I want to know what's happening. As the scan began, Ethan felt a tingling sensation. Holographic displays showed swirling patterns of light. The doctor's eyes widened. The merger is progressing rapidly, he said. The new consciousness is forming neural pathways. Zara's face paled. How is this possible? It seems the human DNA is accelerating the process, the doctor replied. Ethan's head swam. Are you saying this child will be born soon? Zara glared at him. This is not a child. It's an abomination. A threat to our species. Kalra entered, her voice firm. The High Council has decided. You and your team will be detained until we determine how to handle this. Ethan sat up, desperation in his voice. Please, be reasonable. This was an accident, not an act of aggression. Let's find a peaceful solution. Kalra's expression softened slightly. I understand, but we can't risk further contamination. Guards, take him back to his quarters. As Ethan was led away, he locked eyes with Zara. There was more than anger in her gaze now. Fear, uncertainty, maybe even a glimmer of hope. Locked in their quarters, Ethan and his team were under constant surveillance. Despite the tension, Ethan's thoughts often returned to Zara. He wondered what she was feeling. One night, a soft chime echoed in his room. A holographic message appeared. Meet me in the observation deck. Midnight. Come alone. Ethan's pulse quickened. It could be a trap, but it might also be the breakthrough they needed. He waited until midnight before sneaking out. On the observation deck, Zara stood looking out at the stars. You wanted to see me? Ethan asked quietly. Zara nodded. I've been communicating with the hybrid. It's reaching out. I think it's trying to connect with you too. Ethan's eyes widened. How? Telepathically. I think because you're its father. If we amplify the connection, maybe we can understand it better. Ethan's heart pounded. You think that's possible? Zara's eyes were earnest. I do, but we have to act quickly. The High Council wants to terminate it. If we can show them it's not a threat, we might change their minds. Ethan nodded. Let's do it. What do we need? In the following days, Ethan and Zara worked secretly to develop a device to amplify the telepathic connection. They met in hidden corners, whispering plans and sharing ideas. As they worked, their bond deepened. One night, as they tested the device, Ethan felt a surge of emotion. A warm, loving presence enveloped him. Did you feel that? Ethan asked, awestruck. Zara nodded, tears in her eyes. It's the hybrid. It's reaching out to us. Ethan reached for Zara's hand, and she didn't pull away. The touch sent a jolt through them, a connection beyond the physical. Their eyes met, and they kissed, a meeting of souls who had found something extraordinary. As Zara's pregnancy progressed, the hybrid's abilities grew stronger. Ethan felt its thoughts and emotions, sharing in its curiosity. It's not a threat, Ethan told Zara. It's a gift. Zara touched her abdomen. But the council doesn't see it that way. They want to end it. Ethan's blood ran cold. We can't let that happen, Zara nodded. There's a sanctuary in the mountains run by scientists. They might help us. Their escape was tense. Ethan and Zara fled under cover of darkness, using a stolen vessel to reach the sanctuary. Hidden away, they prepared for the hybrid's arrival, working with the scientists to understand its abilities. In the sanctuary's peace, Ethan and Zara's love blossomed. They knew the risks but were committed to their child's future. Their days were filled with planning, studying, and building the trust of the sanctuary's inhabitants. Each day, Ethan would talk to Zara about Earth, sharing stories of its oceans and forests, its diverse cultures and history. In return, Zara spoke of Nova Prime's rich traditions, its people's unity, and their deep bond with their world. Imagine a future where our child can walk freely on both worlds, Zara mused one evening, gazing at the night sky. Ethan smiled, wrapping an arm around her. That's the future we're fighting for. The hybrid's birth was unlike anything Ethan had experienced. The sanctuary hummed with energy as Zara went into labor. When their child was born, Ethan felt a surge of love, the hybrid's presence filling his mind. The baby was a blend of human and Novian, with Ethan's hair and Zara's shimmering skin. Holding their child, Ethan felt a deep connection. "It's beautiful," Ethan whispered, tears in his eyes. Zara smiled. A new beginning. The hybrid's telepathic presence reached beyond the sanctuary, touching all who were near. For a brief moment, everyone felt its thoughts and emotions, a web of connection. The High Council, alerted to the hybrid's birth, demanded a meeting. Ethan and Zara agreed, knowing this was their chance. In the sanctuary, Ethan and Zara stood with their child as the council representatives arrived. The hybrid's presence filled the room, bridging the gap between their species. "This is our child," Ethan said, "a bridge between our worlds, a promise of what we can achieve together." The council members were silent, awed by what they saw. For the first time, they glimpsed the potential for a future where humans and Novians could coexist in peace. As the meeting ended, Ethan and Zara held their child, ready to face the future. They had overcome fear and prejudice to forge a new path. Looking out at the stars, they knew their journey had only just begun. Together, they would explore the universe, building a future of love and understanding. The days that followed were filled with cautious optimism. The High Council, swayed by the hybrid's peaceful and loving nature, began to reconsider their stance. The scientists at the sanctuary continued their research, eager to understand the hybrid's unique abilities. Ethan and Zara found themselves at the center of a burgeoning movement for unity between humans and Novians. They attended meetings, gave speeches, and shared their story, becoming symbols of hope and possibility. One day, as they stood before a gathering of both humans and Novians, Ethan spoke from the heart. "Our child represents the best of both our worlds. It shows that despite our differences, we can find common ground. We can build a future where love and understanding are stronger than fear and prejudice." The audience erupted into applause, a powerful sign that the message of unity was taking hold. Zara squeezed Ethan's hand, and he turned to her, his eyes filled with love. They had come a long way from that first tense meeting on the orbital station, and they knew there was still much work to be done. But as they looked at their child, they felt a deep sense of purpose. The hybrid gurgled happily in Zara's arms, its eyes shining with a light that seemed to come from within. Ethan knew that this was just the beginning. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, forging a future where humans and Novians could thrive side by side. As they left the meeting, Ethan looked up at the stars, feeling a sense of wonder and excitement. The universe was vast, filled with endless possibilities. With Zara by his side and their child in his arms, he was ready to explore those possibilities, one step at a time.